All right. So last week, or maybe a week before that, uh, I open sourced this tool called SecureVibes. Uh, you can go to my website and check it out. The code base is on my GitHub. So SecureVibes, right? Um, so this was just a Python package that anybody can invoke as a CLI tool. Uh, Anthropic released something called Claude Skills this week, or sometime last week, I believe. Last week. Uh, this is interesting because this is essentially Anthropic's opinionated way of context engineering, um, where a skill file can have multiple sections. The description section, the actual definition, and then other references and whatnot. And they only load a particular skill in the context window when there is a need for an agent to use that script. So I want to try this out in Secure Vibes. There is basically um, these steps that happen, right? It first uh, creates a security.md file by understanding the code base, the architecture. It then performs a threat model on it using Stride, and then it reviews the code, more like a AI native SaaS, to validate whether the threats that were enumerated as part of the threat modeling step uh, are actual vulnerabilities in the code or not, right? This is still static analysis, right? There is no proof that it can be exploited or it is indeed an actual vulnerability that, if exposed, could cause some impact and whatnot. So I have this idea where I want to build another agent that kind of comes after this. And the primary purpose of that agent would be to validate vulnerabilities that uh, have been surfaced from the code review agent, right? And in order to do that, I am going to try to use uh, Claude Code Skills. Um, Anthropic also released a skills repository you can see, and there's particularly a web app testing skill in here that looks interesting. There's some examples. Uh, I think it's mostly for quality testing of websites, but I think we can use the same sort of uh, idea to build a skill that could be used by a dynamic verifier subagent to actually validate vulnerabilities dynamically that have been found statically. That basically combines both the static and dynamic analysis, which is what I feel is a holy grail of any sort of web application security testing, right? Uh, just finding what is in the code is not enough. There has to be additional validation that tests that particular vulnerability against the running application. So that's what I'm going to try to do in this session. Um, I don't know how it will turn out, but let's give it a go. So here I am in the SecureVibes repo. I am on the main branch. I'm gonna call this new subagent DAST DAST subagent. Okay, and then I used Factory's Droid as my coding agent. Um, as why I use it for Cloud Code, it's a whole different conversation. I don't want to get into that uh, today, but this is as good as Claude Code. I'll just say that. Okay. And I am running with Sonnet 4.5 with high reasoning enabled. Uh, cool. And then one other thing I want to point out is if I go back to my, um, there is a markdown guide file that I created. Uh, I'm calling it Agent Skills Guide. What this is it's basically a consolidated guide in a markdown format of how to use Cloud Code skills. And the way you can see that it's pretty extensive, right? So the way I did this, or the way I created this guide, was I gave Cloud Code a bunch of links, documents, blog posts that Anthropic has released around Claude Code Agent Skills, and I asked it to create a comprehensive guide, right? Uh, this approach has worked well for me because I did something similar for uh, Claude Agent SDK as well. Basically, creating a guide like this allows the coding agent to to know or to have the right context about what is it that it is trying to do. So this approach has worked well for me, and I'm going to stick with that. So yeah, so basically, I'm going to use this guide with the Droid coding agent, um, and have it create skills for the DAST subagent. Okay, so just wanted to show that. Um, what else? So yeah, let's get going and see how far we can go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will shift tab to spec research and plan only mode. Right, this I think is important because um it will not start creating code yet. It will just look at the code, understand the requirements, and create a plan. It's the planning mode. So I'll say, so for example, the ratio of appliances is prime code. Right? For the test from choosing the dash region capabilities in your environment. Last, okay, so I think the first paragraph kind of explains what is a new subagent I'm trying to add, right? Um, the dash subagent can test this either using some kind of MC and SDK, like the Chrome recruitment GP or connect from training a wire authenticated session cookie from the application. Do you want to the expectation? Um, if we are going to expose this subagent while the SecureVibes package, then uh, basically what I'm saying is I I want to only run this task subagent if a flag is specified when running the SecureVibes CLI tool. I only want to run this Dast subagent if flag is running the SecureVibes tool, and this flag needs to be accompanied with a URL of the running application that needs to be tested. Okay, right. I don't want to invoke it every time I run SecureVibes. I only want to run it if the flag is specified and I want to provide a running URL of the application. Okay. And then I also want to explore if we can use Claude Agent Skills. DAST subagent to leverage counter. For example, they could use issues, so the address issue. And that's test the application. And then we can that's one more time adding skill to form this adding their skill file. You can either get on one and for it here. How I could create this. How how we could leverage the skills feature. Oh my god. So as you can see, most of the effort actually goes in writing a good prompt. And I spend most of my time in ensuring that I'm explaining the coding agent exactly what I have in my mind. Um, I'm not being opinionated or prescriptive about how the coding agent should go about building this thing, but I'm just providing a guide. This is essentially what is referred to as acting as a force multiplier or augmenting teams or working alongside human beings, not necessarily replacing them, right? Because if I don't provide this context, right, it is possible the coding agent uh, kind of goes off based on based on the knowledge it fetches from the internet, which might be half baked, which might not know what SecureVibes is supposed to be, etc. So handholding the coding agent with this step is especially very important to understand how we could leverage feature. Okay. And then finally, ultra think hard and deep about this requirement and present an in-depth proposal of how can be built. And then uh, store the proposal in a markdown format. I like to do this because uh, I can use different models to further critique or judge the plan built by Droid in combination with Sonnet 4.5 model. Okay, there you go. So this, I don't know how long this will take, but I'm guessing 5-10 minutes. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So let's see what it's doing. Um, so I didn't specify the full form of DASH, but it is well enough to know that DASH stands for Dynamic Application Security Testing, which is good. Further gives me confidence that it understands the context. It understands the usage of the word dash in this context. Okay, and then it created this plan. Right, it's gonna analyze the architecture, agent patterns. It's gonna review the skills guide for the skill integration patterns. Uh, it's gonna look at the web app testing skill from the Anthropic repository. I mentioned GitHub MCP, right? Yeah. Um, It's going to design the sub-agent architecture for DAST with MCP integration. It's going to define the skill structure for specific one testing, CLI interface with create proposal document. So as you can see, right, based on my requirement, it did a pretty good job of just breaking it down into uh, sort of the things to look for before proposing a plan. And then it starts to go and look at all the different files. Um, You can see that it used the GitHub MCP to fetch that web app testing skills. It already finished the two step, and then it's currently doing that. So you can see that it uses the GitHub file contents tool, the MCP tool to fetch the content of the file. I like using GitHub MCP because um, it's it's like you're it's like you're running a coding agent remotely, but you're not doing that, right? You're just invoking the MCP, and the MCP is smart enough to know how GitHub works, how the files are structured, etc., etc. Instead of just asking to fetch that content, right? So yeah, that's why I kind of use that. Uh, it continues to read, grep, and then it's able to synthesize all the information. And then, yeah, it's already started to propose a specification, which is pretty cool. Hopefully, it comes up with a good proposal. Let's see. Also, if you like these kind of videos, please let me know in comments. If you're watching this video, or if you're just intrigued or curious about how to use or how do I use coding agents to build stuff. Uh, yeah, please let me know. Uh, I like making videos like these. Um, but yeah, if you find it valuable, helpful, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's see what it did. This is, yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty comprehensive plan, right? I'm not going to go through each and everything inside it, but let's see what we can get from it. Okay, executive summary: integrate a DAST subagent into SecureVibes to validate code review findings through live exploitation attempts, provide improved concept evidence for discovered vulnerabilities. Perfect. See, it did a much better job than I did. Okay, and then the current SecureVibes flow, it understood that user CLI orchestrator, and then these are the agents, and then proposed flow with DAST. Okay, so the DAST flag plus target URL, got it. And then it's gonna do the first three steps, and then the dash agent, new optional conditional, that's right. It's going to take input plus the target URL. It's going to use the skills, vulnerability specific testing logic. So yeah, there's going to be individual skills, and then it's going to use the MCP integration. I think it proposes to have both the MCP integrations available, one for the Chrome DevTools for browser-based testing and for curl-based testing, right? It's just smart. And then the output, validated, unvalidated, false positives. Nice. Okay. And then the report generator. Okay. I think overall this proposed flow makes sense. And then it goes ahead and it kind of uh, also provides the definition of the agent. So, and I'm fairly confident in these sort of proposals. So I don't go look into each one of these things. It is helpful to know the sort of rough overview. Okay, and then the dash prompt template. Okay, so it also provided the prompt for the dash. The context code review. Yeah, target application. Okay, available skills. Okay, so got it. And then the workflow for each vulnerability. Uh, got it. Okay. Capture output format. I mean, this looks pretty good. Um, Safety and ethics only. Only test against, never test production systems, stop immediately. Do not exfiltrate, document all. Okay. Agent agent skills structure. So yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward. So it's also provided a skill or MD file for IDOs, let's say. So name, description, allowed tools. Yeah. Okay. And then the purpose, prerequisites, testing methodology, set up account, execute IDO tests. So yeah, interesting. Classification, common IDO patterns, right? See, I didn't have to provide any of this, but this all makes sense. This is awesome. Evidence checklist. Okay. Example output. Perfect. References. Additional skills to implement. Okay. Each follows the same structure. Got it. CLI integration. So it proposed how it's going to integrate with CLI. That's fine. The validation functions. Example usage. Okay. So DAST. Yeah, you see, that's nice. Dash with test accounts. That's in browser mode only. This is interesting. So, hmm, got it. Browser mode only. Specific model. Okay. And then it's provided an example of test users as well. Okay. So yeah, like if an application has multiple users, I guess instead of trying to create or register new users, it makes sense, right? If we can pre-create those and provide those users, that makes a lot of sense. MCP integration. Oh, I see. So when we use the browser mode, I think that's when it used the Chrome DevTools MCP, right? Obviously, yeah. If you want, interesting. When browser MCP is unavailable, it uses the standard HTTP request. Okay. Data models enhancement. That's fine. I mean, scan results. Yeah, it's just updating the models. Progressive skill addition strategy without modifying core code. Yes. Core items can be covers most after that validates feasibility of approach, phase two injection skills, authentication session skills, advanced skills, cloud and infrastructure skills, right? Yeah, key benefit. That's right. Yeah, this is the real power of skills, right? Where, uh, yeah, like you can just add skill and then the like sub-agent will be smart enough to know. So this is actually a great example of skills because web app testing, like there's different vulnerability classes, right? And class has so many different variations to test against. So it makes sense for the agent to have comprehensive documentation. And we are doing that using skills, right? Edge cases, test accounts, not still not found, that timeout, false negative. Well, okay. Security and safety considerations, okay. Authorization verification, no protection for sanitization. Audit logging, testing and validation, unit tests, integration tests, performance consideration. I mean, yeah, this is just too much, right? Like, and then it provides a token estimation as well. Okay. Any vulnerability dash cost. Okay, simple, complex. I mean, it's not bad. Legally tokens for like 0.1 cents if you're able to validate a vulnerability. I mean, it's totally worth it, I think. 175 dash per one. Okay. Migration path, foundation, course skills, integration, polish, documentation requirements. Wow, this is crazy. Metrics, risk and mitigation, feature enhancement, inclusion. Wow. So as you can see, this was a pretty comprehensive plan, right? And I don't really have much concerns with it, and I did go over it as much as I could. So at this point, uh, I am going to say keep iterating on spec to show. Uh, I generally would go ahead and implement it, but I'm trying to be very careful with uh, how I go about it, following the best practices of using AI, right? So I want to show, or I want to try something basically. So let's say, I'll say, Store this plan in a markdown format. Okay. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I don't think it's stored. Even though I mentioned it, yeah. So I just had to say it again. Once it stores this plan in a markdown format, I'm gonna try to use the Zen MCP, Zen MCP .co, this one. So this is basically, um, you can use different AI models to sort of collaborate, right? It's like it can be used for the LLM as a judge functionality, right? So right now I used Sonnet 4.5 to create this plan. Now, if I wanted to have the plan reviewed, critiqued by other models, I think I could do that using Zen MCP. So that's what I want to try. Chat to consensus to read about decision making skills. Consensus to chat to key features. Yeah, you see that performer code review using Gemini Pro 3. This part create a fixed strategy. Debug this race condition. Plan your microservices. Okay. That's what let's see what it does. Okay. Summary of the document structure, major sections, 8,500 words. Holy cow. Uh, but yeah, inside docs is fine. It was asking me where um I want to store that markdown file. I currently have all the markdown files stored inside docs. So proceed when you confirm. Okay, I think it's not creating it, and you know why? Yeah, it's because I'm still in the plan mode. If I say I just switched the plan mode to allow all commands, so now it should save the markdown file, which is good, right? You can see how powerful the plan mode is. It will not commit any um, just you switch the mode or come out of it. So now it's creating the proposal document. So after this module is created, I'll kind of show how I would use the Zen MCP to get this proposal. This is also something I've learned about coding agents in general. Also, the Claude Agent SDK is you've got to be patient with these sort of agents. They take a long time, but um, it's because they are going through the agentic loops or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, I think these, especially Claude Code and like all of these coding agents, are really, really good in ensuring that they finish the task. Um, so here, looks like, it created a file. Let's look at that. And if I do the task subagent proposal, yeah, got it. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I will say again, use the Zen MCP server to get the DAST proposal reviewed by other models. Ultra think. Okay, let's see if this works or not. So I basically exported the API keys in the terminal. I opened Droid again. Yeah, she's using the consensus tool again. Hopefully the API key works. It's doing something much better than the last time. Oh, model context not provided for file preparation. What? Okay, so it's code too large, content selected files are too large for analysis. Okay. So again. Okay, okay. So choosing Grok 3, I don't care about Grok 3 to be honest. Man, so clearly, um, I need to get clearly. I haven't used this MCP Snow before. That's why I'm struggling. Uh, but I've heard good things about it, so that's why I wanted to give it a try at least. Uh, latest model. Yeah, so O3, Grok 4, G5. I mean, it thinking modes. Hmm. So it was able to use Gemini 2.5 Pro. That's good. At least something worked. I have Codex, so maybe I'll use Codex to use GPT-5 for the review. I don't care about Llama or O3. I think GPT-5 is much better than O3. Grok or man, I won't have an XCI API key right now. So okay, so it was able to use Gemini, and now it's using O3. Let me try Claude Sonnet directly from you. Okay, so it gave up on O3 mini and now it's trying Claude Sonnet. Okay, sure. I mean, this plan was generated using Claude Sonnet, so it'll be interesting. Okay, so it came up with something. Let's see what it thinks. Based on a comprehensive analysis, blah blah blah. Let me very sincere feedback. Okay, executive summary. Ambitious, well considered, faces significant implementation challenges. Okay, the core concept writing SaaS findings to Dash is valuable. Yes, building custom Dash engine from scratch may not be the optimal path. I totally agree with that. I'm not trying to build a custom Dash engine anyway. Key strength, critical issues, undefined skill execution engine blocker. The proposal relies on .md files but doesn't specify how Markdown becomes executable actions. Is there a DSL embedded in the Markdown? Does the agent parse natural language instructions? How these children? So, recommendation. Yeah, see, the thing is, I don't think it knows or it understands how Claude Agent Skills is supposed to work. I gave Droid the GitHub repo, so it knows how the skills work and how the skills.md file needs to be formatted. So I'm gonna call this BS, right? Okay, session one saying this is fine. We get to this um, as we test it against different applications having different authentication mechanisms. So that's fine. Destructive action block list is fragile. Mm. Okay, should be fine. I mean, these are things that should be called out when we review the code using SecureVibes. So I'm gonna skip that as well. Alternative architecture, orchestrate using dash tools. Recommendation build custom and orchestrate. See, that's the thing. I It is recommending me to use Zap or Burp Suite. This is so interesting, right? Because these are essentially dash tools, right? And these tools aren't straightforward either. Like, yeah, I'm in order to validate a vulnerability, I don't necessarily need to use a dash tool. can just use the browser, like I would test it manually myself, or I could use call, right? I think I want to keep it simple, but for some reason this thinks that using a dash tool is recommended. Well, I don't agree with this. I think this is going to make it more complex. And if for some reason my current thought doesn't work out, then maybe it's worth exploring this route. So I am going to call this total BS. Yeah. Okay. So, uh, I don't think it did anything. It stored anything or it just gave it a review. That's fine. Okay, cool. So, um, I just want to show Zen MCP server. This is how it's supposed to work, right? Like I didn't, all I had to do was export my Google API key and it used Gemini 2.5 Pro to get a critique, right? So that's good enough. I don't do this critique. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna launch Codex. I need to choose a model first. So current Codex, I'll use GPT-5 with high reasoning. Okay. Um, sorry. Okay. Review the DAST proposal and provide an in-depth analysis of it, tracking hardware ID as a LLM. Okay, cool. So basically, I started Codex, the coding is from OpenAI, on the same repository. Um, it's connected to my account, so I don't need to provide any API key, right? And it should do something similar that I just did with GenMCP. But it's gonna use the GPT-5 with high reasoning, which is a pretty good model I've heard. And I think using Codex with that model, let's see what it comes back with. Here's a thorough, impartial review of as it stands with a focus on feasibility, cohesion with the current code base, risk and what would keep it robust and a high level verdict, strong concept and rationale, offshore evidence driven dash neatly complements secure static feasible aligns with how team Friday. Okay. Implementation scope is large, yes, and touches core areas, yes. It's feasible but requires careful design choices to avoid duplicative restriction and drift. That's true. Skills target promise extensibility, but it reduces unsolved application packaging question, and that's fine. What's strong? Clear value proposition, safety first posture, thoughtful data model deltas, progressive skill strategy, testing strategy. Major concerns. Okay, orchestration split between the proposal adds a separate dash execution path from the CLI custom instead of indicating dash a fourth class subagent within the existing Claude orchestration. And this is interesting. Duplicating client lifecycle hook handling. Yeah, conflict with when how can I produce a second mini organizer level. That's true. I didn't realize it. So yeah, it should integrate dash for the first class subagent. So I don't know why it's not doing that or why. I mean, I clearly overlooked that as well. This is good. Loading. Currently it's defined 4 agents and this only loads those 4. Adding dash and imply changes to both plus a new prompt at okay. Data model and reporters drift. Models and new logical report is on in tender is it. Morgan is okay, that's true. When the report generator agent creates this. Sub-agent phase. The core mode has reported. Yeah, and depending on packaging apps, always but no base reason. And then fit with current code base. Scanner orchestration, the scanner delegates from this looks some track storage. This should be used for anyone. Yes, that's right. I agree with this. Prompts this provided by the first and this and on and included in this. Okay, yes. Models, tests, yes. Security, safety appraisal, good. Authorization, production, needs trading redaction, has coverage, apps, logging, production, detection, evidence. Okay. Feasibility and skills for them is a problem. Exactly. Yeah. So I think so. I generally am very impressed. By the way, yeah, it pointed out some pretty good things that if I had overlooked, especially this, right? I don't want the DAST execution path like a separate thing. I want the DAST subagent as a first class citizen in this architecture. So yeah, that's a good point here. Um, and I guess that's why it's so important to first make sure the plan is solid, reviewed and critiqued by multiple models, and only after that go ahead with the implementation. This was the original proposal to build the new dash sub agent. Then look at this was a reviewed version of the original plan. If I think hard and deep about the reviewed version and present a proposal of how could incorporate these revisions into the original plan. I definitely want the dark sub-agent as a first sub-agent like others in the picture. And then this is a plan mode. Let's see. Okay, Claude Agent Skills. Again, model testing. Error validation wise to a single well-crafted skill that can be expanded to assembly. Yes, that's right. Defer browser interface of okay. Yeah, because if the sub-agent can use a skill to send a HTTP request, we don't need the browser MCP stuff, right? Yeah. I'm starting before scaling, that's right. Okay, got it. Yes, they're loading schema, yes. See, it knows Claude has a three-tier loading. It's smart. Yes, yes, yes. Agent workflow 5 phases, sure. Yes, read vulnerabilities, Claude's load scale, yes. Execute, yes. Yes, 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 yes. I think this is solid now. This is what I was hoping to see. Then, okay, yes, got it. I like it. I like it. Create error skill. Script commands. Generate dash validation. on safety rules around examples, clear validation script, provide the script, right? Agent definition, clear DAST agent prompt. Yeah. Yeah. See, you mentioned the skills in the prompt. That makes a lot of sense. Hmm. Yes. 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 Perfect. Yeah, this is awesome. Data model changes, validation, sure, sure, CLI usage, evidence scheme, testing strategy, recommended approach before test having independent create test project, create more vulnerable app. Yeah, like it, and then test it, right? Yes. I really like that. Key benefits of skills. Sure. Safety, validation checklist, manual release kit, timeline, open resolved, success criteria, next steps. Okay, this looks pretty good. Um, I am going to at this point just approve the plan and have it cook. Right now, so now I've completed core data model dependencies, great progress, communicate the remaining condition, to respect tokens, know what being common and what remains along with the next steps. Completed week one. So it's already completed week one. Skills, agent prompt, data models, dependencies, remaining ready for your continuation. Remaining implementation requires blah 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 blah. Okay. But if this works, right, it basically white coded a new sub-agent in the current SecureVibes architecture that can take vulnerabilities from the code review sub-agent and actually validate it. Um, it just works for IDO for now, and I think even for IDO it's very specific. But I think for MVP to prove that this could work with skills, I think it's really great. Um, so I will most likely record that in the next session. So I'm just waiting for this to complete. Um, let's say to the final step, writing unit and integration tests. But yeah, the good thing about all of this is we've just proved, right? You can go from source code of a vibe coded application to finding vulnerabilities, validating that they're actual vulnerabilities, they're not false positive. And all of this is configurable, all of this is extensible, right? And the next phase obviously is to uh, propose a fix, which I think is going to be interesting. But that I'm not too worried about that because we already have the context of what the vulnerability is. We have all the proof. We have the source code. So fixing should be the easy part, right? But how it all works with the architecture is going to be interesting. Yeah. And as I was speaking and thinking, right, you can see that it wrote some trust. Like this is one thing I absolutely hate doing. I can't write unit tests or integration tests. Uh, I just cannot, and I hate it. Um, and I think this is like a very good use case of using AI is to, you know, write good tests, build up your test coverage. Because I think as we move towards a world where everything is going to get automated, if you don't have good enough tests, uh, you'll have to introduce build points, integration points where a human has to constantly make sure that everything is fine, nothing is breaking. Writing good tests will definitely help with that. Well, it looks like it completed everything. So I think I'll break off here. I'll stop the recording. And when I come back, we'll try the SecureVibes CLI package on a repo that I have that has vulnerable code, and we'll see if it validates um, in user findings or not. Or we could test. Um, until then, I think I'm good to go. Awesome. Thank you so much if you have been with me. I really appreciate it.